continuing with your point on DCL, right? So we're currently, let's say we're at least 50 points away from average, okay? We're 50 points away from, at least 50 points away from where we want to be this season. Now, if we're chasing and if we're bringing on assets, like I think that are already in majority of teams, like we're bringing on your best Wolves defenders, probably, maybe that's a good decision, I don't know. But I think those decisions may not add enough value in my perspective. I think the decisions that probably add more value are the decisions like the ones that you just mentioned. When to jump off assets that everyone's holding, when to jump back onto assets that have been really good season on season but have been poor, like for instance KDB. So for me, removing say a Trent, if I can bring in say a KDB when their fixtures change, I think that is game week 9. I think if I can upgrade someone to KDB from my midfield, I think that is worthy of sort of defensive downgrade. For me, personally, I'm not too concerned about just holding Trent as long as I don't particularly see anyone who's a little different and worthy of that investment immediately.
But I do feel there are mid-priced midfielders as well who haven't started performing yet. Pulisic might start scoring. Havertz, Ziyech. There are so many options. So there are smaller upgrades available too. So we just have to. I mean, Rashford, he looks really sharp right now. So
I think those upgrades really make sense to me. I mean, and also similarly on the same vein, like I mean, Bharat, if you jump off DCL and get onto Kane, you have to worry about Kane's fixtures, and I would argue that Kane's fixtures are turned a little difficult after game week 9. So that's another sort of thing to think about.
And historically, Spurs haven't been, usually solid against top 6 opposition. This season, they look a little different. They look a little sharper, a little more confident, a little more balanced. Kane has always been a big game player, though. I mean, outside of the United games, he's been a big game player this season. Yeah, this season he
let's not
yeah.
They're not top.
But talking of United, they look good. Like their assets, Bruno. Going back to Bruno again at 10.5, low ownership at the moment as well. United get penalties every game. It's not even a joke anymore. Even midweek against Leipzig, they got penalty
there. Why was Martial taking penalty?
So I think Bruno Rashford was on a hat trick and he handed the penalty to Rashford, and then Rashford gave it to Martial because Martial hasn't gotten off the mark this season.
Some picking up.
That's great, man.
Yeah, it was great team spirit. Anthony's been low on confidence with that suspension, and doesn't no goals this season. Started out, poor so far, and getting that one goal can really, set you on your way. So I think that was a great gesture by Rashford, and then he got what he deserved, his third goal after that anyway.
That is proper karma.
Yeah, and it was great. So, and again, speaking of Rashford, I think now with Tony coming back the week after this and playing through the middle, Rashford's probably going to be pushed out wide again. Whether it's worth spending that 9.5 million on him is a question mark. Greenwood is going to get back into the team soon. Got on the score sheet as well. The guy is just like, best finisher in the team. So clinical, one chance, one goal. So once he starts getting his starts again, getting back in the lineup, I think he's at 7.5. I think he's fallen as well because.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's a good shout and a good differential as well. But like you said, Abhinav, I feel like when you're playing catch up, you have to go after differentials, and high risk, high reward. Really, you lose out on some of the big hitters, but hopefully you just pray that your differentials work out. So you got to have maybe a couple of big hitters in there, like you don't get rid of your Salahs or your Kanes, but at this point Son, you don't get rid of him. But
it's the best asset in this game at this moment.
Yeah, and at his price point as well, unbelievable. So you don't get rid of those guys, but maybe have 2 of them in there to make up for your differentials. But on the whole, maybe take out the cheaper differentials, like if you have a DCL or you have the cheaper high ownership players, like if you have a DCL or you have James Rodriguez or or I guess Podence, who's been a constant for everyone, a 5.5 million midfielder, but the guy is just trash, man. Like I had high hopes for him. I thought he'd be the next Diogo
But
Jota, perfect
not just
replacement, but
in Wolves just look different, man.
yeah, they do look different going forward, but he's still someone that I can't afford to waste a transfer on really at this point. So for me, I guess that's a good segue into what your teams are going to be looking like next week or next game week. For me, I'm just focusing on bringing in Harry Kane. It's something that I have thought about. His fixtures after this week are on the harder side. I think he has a couple of good fixtures, Brighton at home, and so I definitely want to keep
He's
him.
best home next week though. That's the
Right. So that's the big. They have a couple. I want to bring him in just for those, and then maybe take him out. And if Aguero is looking good at that point, can always make that switch. Or at that point, it's easy to go back to a Mane or a KDB. So my priority for this week is bringing Harry Kane. How I want to do it is a question mark. Whether I want to take out Mitrovic or DCL, or take a -8, which is a big hit, and take out my third striker, the 4.5 million striker, and then remove Mane and Trent both, because Liverpool don't look convincing to me. But Liverpool do have a good fixture with West Ham in terms of attacking assets. Defensively, I don't think they'll keep a clean sheet, but I do expect them to get a couple of goals at the very least. So bringing in Kane is my priority for this week. How I want to do it, I'm still uncertain on and undecided on.
Your transfer from Mitrovic or DCL to Kane, that will be a straight swap.
Won't be a straight swap, but it'll make me take one hit, a -4. So either if I remove Mitrovic, I can take out Trent and bring in Size, or maybe even Cody. I think I may have a point 1 or 2 million gap there, and just take out Mitrovic for Kane, because I do have 2.5 million in the bank already. But if I take out DCL and I bring in Kane, then I can still maybe take out Mane and bring in KDB, or take out Mane and bring in Bruno Fernandes. So I think that might be the better way to go. But the thing with Mane is nobody has him, man. Like nobody really has him, and
Yeah, he
he's
looks good.
he you with him, you never really know. I don't understand why his ownership is so low. I think because at 12.12 million, people have really gone for Salah, and then with Son and everyone's teams, Kane doing really well. I guess 12 is too expensive to have a player like that. But if I bring in Bruno or Rashford even this week, United home to Arsenal, uh, seeing how VAR is for United and against Arsenal, I won't be surprised if we get a penalty and Bruno converts it. So really, really, really tempting to bring in Bruno, and if I can get in Kane and Bruno in 1 week with the -4, it's something to really look at.
Yep, it is.
Actually, just one question. So you mentioned that Kane is the highest priority. Is that because you think that, in your opinion, this game week, you think Spurs are gonna really throttle Brighton?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if they're going to throttle them, but I do expect Kane to convert. He just looks too good, man, at the moment. Like whether he's dropping deep, whether he's getting his chances, it's just I feel like it's just mostly about FOMO not having him, because he's just unbelievable form right now. Everyone has him. Even now, last week he got an assist, didn't do too much. Burnley was solid defensively. They really played deep, but I don't think Brighton are the kind of team that have been doing that. So I think Kane and Son as well. I do expect them to get some points this week. And Kane is just someone that right now is too hard to not have, because if I choose to not take him now, I probably will just not have him for the next 7 or 8 weeks until Spurs' fixtures get a little better. So to bring him in, it has to be now or never. So have him in for the next couple of weeks, and then hope for the best. But uh, he really needs to justify me taking a -4 though at this point, because if I take out DCL and the guy scores again, gets back to his form, it's going to be I'm going to regret it. But I think having Harry Kane right now seems to be no brainer. Everyone has him, and again, he's one of those players that if even when you're playing catch up, you need to have him just so that you don't fall too far behind if your differentials don't work out.
So is that the reason I asked that was, does that mean you're captaining him if you bring him in?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be between him and Son. So that's the question that I'll need to answer. But it's going to be a Spurs player for me this week.
Got it. Ishan, how about you? What transfer decisions and what about captaincy?
My initial thought was to just remove a rotting vinagre from my defense. I got him at 4.5 and he's reached 4.2 now. Of getting someone like Brantwaite at 3.9 and just keep that money in the bank for later. But now I'm also thinking about maybe letting go of James. He still has a knock according to FPL. Didn't look too good last week, so I'm just considering maybe letting him go. I don't think I'll do that. I don't think I'll do that right now. But yeah, that's it. The rest of my team, I just want to see them have a go again this week. Regarding
How much?
captaincy, I think West Ham have been better than their usual selves against good teams this season. So I'm thinking of not captaining Salah this time. Maybe Son. He looks, as we discussed, he looks like the best asset at the moment. And against Brighton, maybe him.
So if you do remove James, are you considering a player at that price point or someone cheaper? Because there are a few options. There's Zaha, there's Greenwood. There are a couple of options there.
Pulisic, possibly.
Pulisic.
I can't afford Pulisic at the moment. Maybe Zaha. He looks good. Greenwood, he may not start this week. That's what I think because he started against Leipzig. But maybe if I remove both James and Vinagre and bring in Brantwaite at the back, maybe I can get Pulisic. That is an option too.
But no, I mean, where are you looking? I mean, is it Zaha that's primary at this point? I mean, Pulisic was probably not your first thought, right?
Yeah, because he still hasn't started firing. So yeah, Zaha was my first thought.
So is it like most probably going into this game week you're going to be taking out James and you're going Zaha?
Most probably I will not because
Okay.
they still have Newcastle to play against. So maybe next week.
So it's most probably going to be two.
Most probably just Vinagre.
Just Vinagre, okay. I'm definitely sort of in that weird position this week where I just feel like I'm a stupid idiot for not making any transfers and my teams really perform badly. But I'm just sort of really gonna. I don't want to regret transferring on someone the week they really sort of do well, and I don't see any transfer that I can make where I can be absolutely certain that the person I'm taking out is not going to outperform. Probably you could make an argument for Barclay, but again, Southampton have those off games where they concede 3 goals plus. So, and at the same time, Villa didn't really look too bad attackingly. I felt like first half. So it's definitely going to be tough, but I'm probably going to hold and not make a transfer this week after scoring 38 this week. So I don't know whether that makes me a good player and patient or whether that makes me the biggest idiot in FPL at this moment. But I'm going to go in with the double Liverpool defense and I'm going to be captaining Mohamed Salah this week against West Ham.